Get on your knees, or I will break the leg you are standing on. The deputy drove his boot into the back of Imani Brooks's knee before she could answer. She struck the courthouse wall shoulder first. Her handbag hit the floor. A black identification wallet slipped halfway out, and Deputy Derrick Vaughn crushed it beneath his shoe before she could reach for it. Hands behind your back. My hands are visible. He seized her wrist and twisted until her fingers opened. Derrick kicked her down and ordered the nearest clerk to stop recording. He had just attacked the one woman whose unexplained detention could activate a federal continuity protocol. Imani looked past his shoulder at the dark lens mounted above the hallway door. Your body camera is blocked by your vest, she said. The ceiling camera is not. Derrick's expression hardened. He dragged her upright by one arm, slammed her against the wall again, and snapped a handcuff around her left wrist. You think a camera protects you? No, Imani said. It protects the truth. The second cuff flooded hard enough to cut her skin. Stay with this story because the first lie is only the smallest one. Derrick pulled her away from the wall and forced her toward a steel door marked Court Personnel. The corridor behind them had gone silent. A father holding a child stared at the floor. Two attorneys stopped beside an elevator but did not move closer. A young records clerk stood near a copier with one hand over her mouth. Imani's right knee would not support her weight. Derrick kept pulling anyway. Stop resisting. I am not resisting. You crossed a restricted line. There is no line. He jerked the cuffs upward. Pain climbed from her wrists into both shoulders. You do not decide what is restricted in my courthouse. A second uniformed deputy appeared at the far end of the hallway. He took one look at Derrick and then at Imani's twisted posture. What happened? She rushed the door and put hands on me. Imani turned her head just enough to see the second deputy's nameplate. Did you witness that? The man hesitated. Derrick yanked her backward. Do not interrogate my officers. Imani stumbled. Her injured knee folded again, and the side of her face came within inches of the floor before Derrick caught the chain between the cuffs. He did not catch her to protect her. He used the chain to haul her up. A plainclothesman rounded the corner at a run. Release her. Derrick pushed Imani behind him and reached for his holster. The man stopped with both hands visible. Federal agent, remove your hand from the weapon. Derrick's thumb remained hooked near the retention strap. Show me. The man drew a credential case slowly and held it out. His voice stayed level, but his eyes moved once toward Imani's knee and once toward the camera above the door. My name is Andre Lawson. She is under federal protection. Derrick looked at the credential, then at Imani. Protection for what? That information is not yours. It became mine when she attacked a deputy. She did not attack you. You were not here. I was 20 seconds away. Derrick gave a thin smile. Then you missed it. Andre stepped closer. You are going to remove those cuffs. Derrick closed the distance between them until the badge on his chest nearly touched Andre's jacket. You walked into a county courthouse and started giving orders. That may work where you come from. Andre did not retreat. Remove the cuffs before her injury gets worse. The second deputy shifted his weight. The records clerk near the copier quietly lowered her phone, but not before Derrick noticed. You, he pointed at her, bring me that device. The clerk froze. Now, Maya. Maya Sutton held the phone against her chest. I was only checking the time. Derrick released Imani with one hand and strode toward her. Andre caught Imani before she fell. Derrick snatched the phone from Maya's grip. When she reached for it, he slapped her hand away hard enough to send a folder of court notices across the floor. No recording inside a secure corridor. I did not record anything. Then you will not mind if I check. He entered 3 wrong codes. The phone locked. Derrick turned it over, examined the camera, and dropped it onto the copier. Go back to work. Maya rubbed the red mark across her knuckles. Andre kept one hand beneath Imani's elbow. Can you stand? Yes. Her answer came too quickly. Her knee trembled beneath the fabric of her charcoal trousers. Derrick pointed toward the steel door. She is being detained pending identification. Andre's gaze moved to the black wallet still under Derrick's shoe. You already have her identification. Derrick looked down as though he had forgotten it was there. He shifted his boot, bent, and picked it up. Before he could open it, a voice boomed from the elevator lobby. What is happening in my building? Sheriff Bradley Whitaker approached with two captains behind him. He was broad-shouldered, silver-haired, and already wearing the expression of a man who expected everyone else to become quiet when he arrived. Derrick handed him the wallet without opening it. Combative visitor, tried to force the personnel door, struck me when I stopped her. Bradley examined the outside of the wallet. Its seal was turned inward against his palm. Federal? Andre answered before Imani could. She is under federal protection. Your deputy used force without cause. Remove the restraints and preserve every recording in this corridor. Bradley looked at Imani. Did you put your hands on my deputy? No. Did you cross the secured threshold? No. Derrick stepped beside the sheriff. She came around the corner fast. I told her to stop twice. That is false, Imani said. Bradley's eyes narrowed. I was asking the deputy, and he was answering a question about me. Bradley passed the wallet back to Derrick without looking inside. People usually cooperate when they have nothing to hide. Imani studied him for a moment. So view the footage. The records clerk looked up. Bradley glanced at the ceiling camera, then at Derrick's body camera. We will review everything through the proper process. The proper process begins with uncuffing an injured woman. Andre's voice was still controlled, but the softness had gone. One of the captains moved closer to Bradley and spoke under his breath. Bradley listened, then extended his hand toward Derrick. Take them off. Derrick's jaw tightened. She assaulted me. Then document it. He unlocked the cuffs. The metal scraped over Imani's swollen wrist. The instant her right hand came free, Derrick shoved it away from him as if she had reached for his weapon. Andre stepped between them. Do that again. Bradley raised one palm. Everyone stops. Right now. Imani bent carefully and retrieved her handbag. Derrick still held her identification wallet. My property. He looked down at it. You can collect it after the incident report. Andre moved his jacket aside just enough for the second deputy to see the edge of his holster. You will return it now. Bradley took the wallet from Derrick and gave it to Imani. She opened it only far enough to confirm the contents. Bradley saw a flash of gold, a blue field, and a line of embossed lettering before she closed it. His expression changed for less than a second. Not recognition, calculation. Ms. Brooks, he said, using the name printed on the inner card. We can resolve this without making it larger than it is. Derrick looked at him. You know her? I know how to read. Imani slid the wallet into her bag. This became larger when your deputy decided the cameras were less important than his version. Bradley's mouth tightened. You entered a controlled corridor during an active family hearing. I was standing beside a public bench. There may have been confusion. There was no confusion when he kicked me. Derrick took a step forward. You moved at me. Imani turned toward the young clerk. Maya, did I move toward him? Maya's face lost color. Derrick answered for her. She was working. She did not see anything. Maya looked at the scattered notices on the floor. One page had landed beneath Derrick's boot. I heard him tell you to kneel, she said. The corridor seemed to shrink. Derrick moved so quickly that one of the captains reached for his arm. You heard a lawful command. Maya flinched. Imani watched Bradley. He did not ask the witness what she had seen. He looked instead at the camera above the steel door. Then he turned to one of his captains. Lock the footage. Nobody accesses it without Sergeant Marsh. Imani's eyes remained on him. Preserve the native files, not an exported clip. Preserve the body camera pre-event buffer, activation record, audit history, dispatch audio, access card entries, and every administrative login made from this moment forward. For the first time, Bradley did not have an immediate answer. Derrick gave a dismissive laugh. You memorized that from a television program? Imani looked at his camera. The green indicator should be visible from this angle. Yours is covered. Either you positioned it that way, or the mount has been altered. The second deputy looked down at his own camera. Derrick touched his vest as if the movement were casual. Bradley stepped between them. That is enough. Ms. Brooks, you need medical attention. Deputy Vaughn will complete his report. If a review finds a policy issue, we will handle it. You are already handling it, Imani said. That is the problem. Maya Brooks rushed from the courtroom wing with a court advocate behind her. What happened? She saw the marks on Imani's wrists and stopped. Derrick blocked her path. Stay back. That is my sister. Then control yourself. Maya tried to move around him. Derrick caught her forearm. Imani's voice dropped. Take your hand off her. Derrick tightened his grip. Maya winced. Andre moved first. He seized Derrick's wrist, turned it outward, and broke the grip without striking him. Derrick swung his free arm. Andre caught the punch against his forearm and drove Derrick back one step. Both captains rushed between them. Bradley shouted for everyone to stop, but his order came after his deputy had already grabbed one woman and swung at a federal agent. Derrick pointed at Andre. He assaulted me. Andre held both hands open. Your corridor has 3 cameras. Bradley looked up again. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the elevator opened, and courthouse administrator Heather Langley stepped out carrying a red folder. Her gaze took in Naya's reddened arm, Imani's swollen wrist, and Derrick's clenched fist. What did they do? The question was directed at Bradley, but she was looking at the 2 sisters. Naya stared at her. What did we do? Heather ignored her. There is a guardianship matter in progress. This disruption could affect the hearing. Imani's attention sharpened. Are you threatening my sister's case? I am explaining that conduct has consequences. You have not asked what happened. I can see that deputies are trying to restore order. Derrick straightened his vest. Heather stepped closer to Imani. This courthouse serves families who are already under pressure. We cannot allow visitors to create scenes. Derrick had kicked her, handcuffed her, and dragged her toward a locked door. Heather had arrived afterward and still found a way to make Imani responsible for the disturbance. Imani's face remained composed. Ask your clerk what she witnessed. Heather turned to Maya. The young woman had begun collecting the scattered notices. Ms. Sutton returned to records. Maya nodded without lifting her eyes. FedEx faced Imani again. There, she did not witness anything relevant. Imani watched Maya disappear behind the records door. That was the moment the incident stopped being one deputy's violence. The institution had begun choosing its story. An ambulance crew entered through the elevator lobby. Andre had called them before approaching the corridor. One medic knelt beside Imani and examined her knee while another photographed the abrasions on her wrists. Derrick stood close enough to hear every question. Can we speak privately? Imani asked. Bradley shook his head. This is still an active law enforcement contact. The medic looked at Andre. Andre looked at Bradley. She is no longer detained. She may be charged after review. Imani met the sheriff's eyes. Then decide whether I am free to leave. Bradley paused too long. The captain nearest him looked uncomfortable. You are free to receive treatment, Bradley said. That was not the question. Heather opened the red folder. The court hearing has been delayed. If Ms. Brooks leaves now, her absence may be noted. Maya stepped forward. She was attacked outside my courtroom. Heather's voice stayed cool. She was involved in a security incident. Derrick smiled faintly. Imani saw it. He believed the vocabulary had already changed the facts. She allowed the medic to help her into a wheelchair. As they turned toward the elevator, she looked once at the ceiling camera. A small red status light glowed behind the smoked cover. Then it went dark. Imani pointed. That camera just lost power. Bradley followed her finger. Temporary system fault. Andre removed his phone. I am noting the exact time. Heather closed her folder. Sergeant Edwin Marsh manages the system. He will review it. Imani's gaze stayed on the dead piano. Call him now. Bradley looked at her as if she had overstepped. This is not your investigation. No, she said. It is your test. The elevator doors closed before he could answer. At the hospital, a physician documented a deep contusion behind Imani's right knee, a strained wrist, and inflammation across her left shoulder. Nothing was broken. Derrick's threat had failed in the narrowest physical sense. Nia sat beside the examination bed, angry enough to shake. You should have told him. Imani looked toward the closed door. Told him what? You know what. Andre stood near the window, making a call in a voice too low to carry. Nia leaned closer. He would have stopped. He should have stopped for you. He should have stopped for Maya. He should have stopped for any woman standing in that hallway. This is not any woman. That cannot be the standard. Nia pressed both palms against her face, then lowered them. He grabbed me. I saw. You stayed calm. I stayed useful. The door opened. Andre entered and closed it behind him. The county has classified the corridor footage as restricted courthouse security material. They are refusing voluntary release. How long did that take? Imani asked. 23 minutes. They prepared that answer before anyone requested the file. Andre gave a slight nod. They also entered an incident number listing you as a suspect. Nia stood. For what? Obstruction and disorderly conduct. No warrant, no formal charge yet. Imani looked at the photographs the medic had taken of her wrists. Who is handling preservation? A conflict screen team. Not my office. No operational contact through your chain. State investigators have been notified. And my recusal? Drafted. Filed, not drafted. Andre held her gaze. It will be filed. Before anyone interviews a witness. The firmness in her voice was different from anything Nia had heard in the courthouse. It did not rise. It did not need to. Andre stepped into the hallway to place another call. Nia looked at her sister. You gave him an order. I gave him a boundary. A nurse entered with discharge paperwork. Imani signed where indicated, declined prescription medication stronger than necessary, and asked for copies of every photograph and note. When the nurse left, Imani opened her identification wallet. Nia caught a glimpse of the seal before Imani removed a plain card containing a secure number. She dialed. This is Brooks. Confirm identity through Channel 7. A pause followed. No, I am safe. Activate continuity authority for temporary operational delegation. My status is medical, not hostile. Nia stopped breathing for a second. Imani listened. Document that I am recused from the Pinebrook matter. No briefings, no approvals, no contact with the field team except through designated counsel. Another pause. You are not to treat the victim's title as evidence. She ended the call and returned the card to the wallet. Nia looked toward the door. Does Bradley know? He saw enough to know I was not an ordinary visitor. That should have been enough. It was enough to make him cautious. It was not enough to make him honest. By late afternoon, Derrick had completed a 7-page report. He claimed Imani ignored 2 verbal commands, crossed a marked security boundary, raised an arm toward his face, and attempted to pull away during detention. He described the kick as a controlled leg redirection. He described the collision with the wall as Imani losing her balance while resisting. The report mentioned Andre only as an unidentified armed male who interfered with a lawful detention. It did not mention Nia's arm. It did not mention the blocked body camera. It did not mention Maya. Derrick signed the final page and carried it to Bradley's office. Sergeant Edwin Marsh was already there. Edwin had narrow shoulders, rimless glasses, and the patient voice of a man who used technical language to end conversations. He sat before Bradley's desk with a laptop open. "The body camera uploaded," Edwin said. "There is a corrupted segment at the beginning." "How much?" Bradley asked. 37 seconds. Derrick leaned over the screen. "That is when she rushed me." Edwin glanced at him. "That is convenient." The room went still. Then Edwin smiled without warmth. "Convenient for understanding where the corruption occurred." Bradley walked around the desk. "Show me what exists." The footage began with Imani already against the wall, Derrick ordering her to stop resisting. Her face was partly hidden. Her hands were behind her back. Bradley watched the clip twice. "Where is the ceiling angle?" "Camera lost connection." "When?" Edwin tapped the keyboard. "Approximately 4 minutes after first contact." "So it caught the beginning." "It may have." "May?" "The camera records locally before transfer. The local file is indexed through the server. If the index failed, recovery takes time." Derrick placed both hands on the desk. "Her people are already demanding everything." Bradley looked at him. "Her people?" "The federal agent." "You saw the credential?" "Yes." "What agency?" Derrick hesitated. He moved too fast. Bradley's stare hardened. "You had time to take her wallet." "I did not open it." "That was a mistake." Derrick straightened. "You told me to return it." "I told you to stop making the hallway worse." Edwin lowered the laptop screen slightly. "Do you want me to preserve the full directory?" Bradley looked toward the closed office door. "I want an export that shows the incident clearly." "That is not the same request." Bradley's voice became quiet. "Do not become difficult, Edwin." The sergeant held his gaze for 2 seconds, then reopened the laptop. "I will prepare the relevant footage." Derrick exhaled. Bradley turned toward him. "You are off courthouse duty until this is reviewed." Derrick's face flushed. "You are suspending me?" "I am moving you to transport." "That looks like punishment." "It looks like I am keeping you away from cameras." Derrick stepped closer to the desk. "She challenged me in front of everyone. If I had let her walk through that door, every person in the building would know they could ignore us." Bradley's expression sharpened. "This is not about respect anymore. It is about what is on that server." Derrick looked at Edwin. Edwin closed the laptop. "The system records access." Bradley nodded. "Then access it correctly." Heather entered without knocking. "Maya Sutton is telling people she saw a kick." Derrick turned toward the door. "She was behind the copier." "She says she had a direct line of sight." Bradley looked at Edwin. "Was the records door camera active?" Edwin considered the question. "It should have been." Heather set her red folder on the desk. "I can address Maya." "No threats," Bradley said. Heather's face remained blank. "I do not threaten employees. I remind them of policy." The following morning, Maya arrived at 7:40 a.m. and found her access badge disabled. Heather waited beside the security desk. "You have been reassigned to basement indexing." "For how long?" "Until the review is complete." Maya looked toward the records office. "My files are upstairs." "They are no longer your concern." Heather handed her a printed statement. "Read and sign this first." Maya scanned the page. It said Imani had moved aggressively toward Derrick. It said the deputy used minimal force. It said Maya's view had been partially obstructed. "This is not what happened." Heather's voice dropped. "You were sorting notices with your back to the hallway. I turned when he raised his voice. You were distracted. I saw his boot hit her leg." Heather stepped closer. "You are not trained to interpret defensive tactics." "I know what a kick looks like." A deputy at the security desk looked away. Heather took the statement from Maya and placed it against the counter. "Your personnel file contains 2 incidents involving restricted records. One was a mislabeled envelope. The other was cleared." "Cleared internally." Maya's fingers tightened around the strap of her bag. "Are you firing me for telling the truth?" Heather's eyes cooled. "I am offering you a chance to avoid losing your job for making an accusation you cannot prove." She pushed the statement forward again. "Sign it." Maya did not move. Heather caught her wrist and pressed the pen into her palm. "Do not confuse stubbornness with courage." Maya pulled back. The pen fell. Heather's grip tightened. "Let go of me." The deputy at the desk finally looked over. Heather released her. A red band marked Maya's skin. "You will report to basement indexing," Heather said. "You will not contact Ms. Brooks, her family, the media, or any outside agency. Unauthorized disclosure of security information will be treated as misconduct." Maya picked up the pen and set it on the counter. "I will not sign." Heather folded the statement once. "Then you have chosen the difficult version." Maya entered the basement through a concrete stairwell that smelled of dust and overheated wiring. Her new workspace contained damaged boxes, obsolete scanners, and one aging terminal without access to the courthouse network. At 10:20 a.m., Derrick appeared at the bottom of the stairs. He was not assigned to the courthouse anymore. Maya stood behind the desk. "You are supposed to be in transport." Derrick smiled. "You have been listening closely." He closed the stairwell door. "What did you record yesterday?" "Nothing." "Give me your phone." "No." He crossed the room in 3 strides. Maya moved around the desk, but he caught the strap of her bag and pulled her backward. The strap cut into her shoulder. "Let go." He twisted the bag until she lost her grip. Derrick emptied it onto the desk. A wallet, keys, charging cable, and sealed packet of crackers scattered across the surface. "No phone. I left it upstairs." He seized her chin and forced her face toward the light. "You told Heather you saw me kick that woman." Maya knocked his hand away. "I saw what you did." Derrick slapped her. The sound cracked through the basement. Maya stumbled into a filing cabinet. One drawer slid open and struck her hip. Derrick leaned close. "You saw a deputy stop a threat." Her cheek burned. "You turned off your camera." His expression shifted. It was small, but she saw it. "You do not know anything about my camera." "I know you covered it." Derrick grabbed the front of her cardigan. "You will remember that your view was blocked." Footsteps sounded on the stairs. He released her immediately. A maintenance worker entered carrying a box of filters. Derrick picked up Maya's bag and set it on the desk, as if helping her. "She dropped this." The maintenance worker looked from Maya's red cheek to Derrick's hand. "Everything all right?" Maya opened her mouth. Derrick answered first. "She is upset about a reassignment." He walked past the worker and climbed the stairs. Maya waited until the door closed. Then she reached beneath the desk and pressed the small emergency button installed years earlier for record staff working alone. Nothing happened. The cable had been cut. Notice who controls the cameras, because that person controls who is believed. Across town, Audrey Grant arrived at the State Investigative Office, carrying no press release and making no announcement. She met Andre in a windowless conference room. "Director Brooks will not receive investigative updates," Audrey said. Andre nodded. She insisted. "She also does not direct preservation, interviews, warrants, or charging recommendations." "Agreed." Audrey opened a folder containing Derrick's report. He claims she struck him. He has no injury. He photographed redness on his wrist. Andre looked at the image. "That came from swinging at me." "Can you prove it?" 3 cameras. "Not anymore." Andre leaned back. Audrey continued. "The county provided a body camera export. It begins after the force. The original? Unavailable pending technical review. The corridor footage? Classified as security sensitive. The witness? Reassigned." Andre's jaw tightened. Audrey closed the file. "This is moving from misconduct toward obstruction, but I need evidence, not instinct." "You have a false report." "I have competing accounts." "You have injuries." I have injuries consistent with both accounts. Andre said nothing. Audrey placed a second sheet on the table. There are 26 obstruction cases filed by Vaughn from courthouse encounters over 6 years. 19 ended in quick pleas. 4 were dismissed. 3 remain sealed because they involve juveniles. Complaints? 7, all unsubstantiated. Video? Audrey looked at him. No video available. That afternoon, Bradley held a press conference outside the courthouse. He did not name Imani. He described an incident involving a visitor who attempted to enter a secured area and became physically non-compliant. He praised Derrick's restraint and warned against rushing to judgment based on incomplete accounts. Heather stood behind him. Caleb Prescott, the county attorney, stood to his right. A reporter asked whether the visitor had been injured. Bradley answered that anyone claiming injury could pursue established channels. Another asked whether federal agents had intervened. Caleb stepped toward the microphones. The county will not discuss unverified credentials presented during an active security event. From a hospital room television, Nia watched him imply that Andre might not have been a federal agent. Imani muted the screen. They are building distance from facts they already know, she said. Nia looked at her. Why are you still here? Observation. You could recover at home. I could. But? Imani glanced at the secure phone on the bedside table. They filed a false account before the bruising appeared. That means the report was not defensive. It was prepared. A notification appeared on the phone. She did not open it. Nia noticed. You are not reading that? It concerns Pinebrook. How do you know? The routing mark. You really removed yourself. Yes. Even after they lied on television. Especially after they lied on television. At the courthouse, Caleb delivered a written directive to every employee. No one was to copy, transmit, or discuss surveillance footage without authorization. Any violation could result in termination and referral for prosecution. Maya read the notice from the basement terminal. Her cheek had begun to swell. She photographed the cut emergency cable with a small backup phone Derrick had not found because it was taped beneath a drawer. Then she searched the old maintenance log. 2 years earlier, after repeated server failures, Maya had helped an outside technician configure a temporary mirror for low-resolution camera feeds. The repair project had ended, but she could not remember anyone disabling the mirror. She found the original work order. The destination address had been blacked out in the paper copy. Maya closed the folder as Edwin Marsh entered the basement. He carried a laptop bag and wore the same patient expression he used when explaining why a system could not produce something. I heard about this morning. Maya touched her cheek. Did Derrick tell you? Edwin's eyes paused on the swelling. He said there was a misunderstanding. He hit me. You should document that through the proper process. The emergency button was cut. Edwin looked beneath the desk. That cable is old. The copper is bright. He straightened. You are becoming emotional. Maya laughed once, without humor. Heather wrote your words for you? Edwin set his laptop bag on the desk. I am trying to help. You made a statement about what you think you saw. That statement now conflicts with an official report. The official report is false. Be careful. Why? Are you going to delete me too? His face changed. Only for an instant. Maya saw the same flicker she had seen in Derrick. Edwin zipped the laptop bag again. You should not access maintenance records outside your assignment. They reassigned me to indexing. These are records. He took the work order from her hand. Not anymore. As he turned away, Maya noticed a white adhesive label on the side of his laptop. It contained a server name she recognized, the same prefix as the old mirror address. She waited until he left, then wrote the server name on the inside of her wrist. That evening, Audrey's team interviewed the father who had stood near the elevator during the assault. He admitted seeing Derrick pull Imani by the cuffs, but claimed he had not seen the kick. Your daughter was facing the hallway, Audrey said. Did she say anything afterward? The father looked at the closed interview room door. She said the deputy hurt the lady. Would she be willing to speak with us? No. Why? He knows where we live. Who? The father stared at the table. The deputy took my license during a courthouse visit last year. He told me he remembers every person who causes trouble. Audrey did not press him further. Outside the room, another investigator handed her a file. Derrick had charged the father with obstruction the previous year. The case had been dismissed. The body camera entry was marked accidental activation. No video available. The pattern widened quietly. A woman who had spent a night in custody after questioning Derrick's treatment of her teenage son agreed to speak. A delivery driver described being shoved against the same wall. A public defender remembered requesting hallway footage in 3 separate cases and receiving corrupted exports each time. None of them knew who Imani was. Their stories did not become more important because of her position. They became visible because this time, the machinery had attacked someone it could not bury without leaving a national footprint. 2 days after the assault, Audrey sent Pinebrook County a formal preservation demand covering camera files, body camera data, internal messages, access logs, disciplinary records, and all communications involving Derrick. Caleb responded within an hour. He accused federal officials of overreach and demanded that any request be narrowed. Edwin logged into the security server at 6:18 p.m. He opened the corridor directory. He changed the classification on Derrick's body camera file from evidentiary to accidental activation. Then he selected the audit export and deleted it. The system warned that deletion would be recorded in a secondary administrative log. Edwin paused. He connected an external device. The warning disappeared. At 6:43 p.m., Bradley entered the server room. You said access records could not be removed. Edwin did not turn from the screen. I said the system records access. Does it still? Not in the form they requested. Bradley came closer. What about the corridor video? The original index is gone. The file? Edwin's hand rested on the mouse. Unreachable. That is not an answer. It is the answer you wanted. Bradley looked toward the door. I wanted an export that reflected the threat. You watched the full recording. Bradley's gaze snapped back. Edwin finally turned. You watched it before the camera went offline. Lower your voice. You saw Vaughn kick her. Bradley gripped the back of Edwin's chair. I saw a confusing angle during a volatile encounter. You saw her standing still. Bradley leaned down. And you saw an elected sheriff trying to prevent one reckless deputy from destroying an entire department. Edwin removed his glasses. The preservation demand changes this. It changes nothing if there is nothing recoverable. Edwin looked at him for a long moment. There may be a mirror. Bradley's grip tightened. Where? I do not know whether it is active. Who would? Edwin thought of Maya. Neither man said her name. In the basement, Maya waited until the courthouse emptied. At 8:10 p.m., she used the server prefix written on her wrist and searched archived maintenance credentials. The first password failed. The second opened a directory filled with timestamp fragments. Her breath caught. Small preview images appeared across the screen. Hallways, elevators, loading docks. The mirror had never been disabled. Maya navigated to the date of the assault. The corridor feed opened in low resolution without sound. Imani stood beside the bench, one hand resting on her handbag. Derrick approached from the personnel door. He pointed toward the floor. Imani did not move toward him. He stepped behind her. His boot struck the back of her knee. Maya covered her mouth. The video continued. Derrick forced Imani against the wall. He bent to pick up the black wallet. Bradley arrived later, took it, and looked inside. Maya leaned closer. The sheriff's entire posture changed after he saw the credential. He knew she held federal authority before he defended Derrick. The file contained another angle from the server room corridor several minutes later. Bradley entered with Edwin. Derrick followed. They were not reacting to a missing video. They were going to remove it. Maya inserted a small storage drive and began copying the files. A progress bar appeared. 9%. Footsteps sounded above the basement. Maya stopped breathing. The stairwell door opened. She minimized the window. Heather entered first. "You are working late." Maya slid her hand over the drive. "I am behind on indexing." Heather approached the desk. "Show me." Maya opened a box and lifted a stack of old court notices. Heather looked at her swollen cheek. "Did you report that injury?" "The emergency line does not work." "That was not my question." "No." "Good." Maya stared at her. Heather rested both hands on the desk. People who accuse law enforcement officers often discover that their own conduct receives closer examination. Your attendance, your handling of records, your communications. Is that what happened to the others? Heather's eyes narrowed. What others? The people Derrick charged. You have spent too much time reading files outside your duties. The progress bar continued behind the minimized window. 32%. Heather walked around the desk. Maya shifted to block her view of the monitor. Heather noticed. "What are you hiding?" "Nothing." Heather grabbed Maya's shoulder and pulled her aside. Maya struck the edge of the desk. The storage drive nearly tore free from the port. Heather reached for the mouse. Maya caught her wrist. For a second they struggled in silence. Then Maya shoved the chair between them. Heather stumbled backward into a filing cabinet. A drawer slammed shut. "You just assaulted a county administrator." "You grabbed me." Heather's breathing quickened. "You have no witnesses." Maya looked toward the small camera above the basement door. Its light was dark. Heather smiled. "That one has not worked in months." The progress bar reached 58%. Maya's backup phone vibrated beneath the desk. Heather heard it. She bent down. Maya stepped between her and the drawer. Heather slapped her across the same swollen cheek Derrick had struck. Maya reeled, but she did not move away from the desk. "Open the drawer." "No." Heather seized her hair near the base of her neck and pulled her head backward. "Open it." The basement door swung inward. A janitor stood there holding a trash bag. Heather released Maya at once. She became aggressive. The janitor looked at Maya's face, then at Heather's hand. "I came for the bins." Heather straightened her jacket. "Finish and leave." She walked toward the stairwell, then stopped at the door. "You will report to my office at 8 a.m. When she was gone, the janitor set down the bag. "Do you need help?" Maya looked at the progress bar. 81%. "I need you to stand by that door." He hesitated. "Please." Something in her voice convinced him. He turned and watched the stairwell. The copy completed. Maya pulled the drive free and slipped it inside the lining of her shoe. Then she opened another file. This one showed the server room after the federal preservation demand arrived. Edwin connected an external device. Bradley stood behind him. The camera had no sound, but the sequence was clear. Edwin deleted something. Bradley watched. Maya saved that file separately. Her backup phone vibrated again. A message appeared from an unknown number. "We know the mirror is active." A second message followed. "Do not leave the basement." Maya looked toward the janitor. The stairwell light went out. The elevator at the opposite end of the records corridor chimed. It had been disabled for months. The doors opened. Edwin stepped out carrying his laptop bag. Derrick stood behind him. Maya's hand moved toward her shoe. Edwin looked at the terminal. Derrick closed the elevator doors and placed himself between Maya and the only other exit. "You found something that does not belong to you," Edwin said. Maya backed toward the shelves. Derrick rolled up his sleeves. "No camera this time." The terminal screen changed without anyone touching it. A remote command opened the copied directory. Then every file began disappearing. Maya watched the evidence vanish from the mirror, one line at a time. Edwin had found the backup, but he had not found the drive in her shoe. The truth is still alive. The question is whether Maya can leave the building with it. Derrick moved first. He crossed the basement in 3 strides and caught Maya by the front of her cardigan. The janitor stepped between them, but Derrick drove one forearm into the older man's chest and sent him crashing against the elevator wall. "Stay out of county business." The janitor slid to one knee, struggling for breath. Maya twisted away. Derrick's fingers tore 2 buttons from her cardigan, but she kept the drive trapped beneath the sole of her shoe. Edwin remained beside the elevator, watching lines disappear from the terminal. "Search her bag," he said, "then her pockets." Derrick shoved Maya against the shelves. Boxes shifted above her head. "You heard him. You already searched me. That was before you stole county evidence. It belongs to the people you lied to." He struck her in the stomach. The air vanished from her lungs. She folded forward, and Derrick caught the back of her neck before she could fall. "You are going to tell me where you put it." Maya forced herself to look at the terminal. The last visible directory vanished. Edwin had erased the mirror. He believed that made the basement the only place where the truth still existed. That belief was the one advantage she had. "I did not copy anything." Derrick tightened his grip. "You expect me to believe you stayed here after 8 p.m. to sort old notices? I expect you to believe whatever Edwin tells you." Edwin's expression sharpened. Derrick pulled Maya away from the shelves and slammed her onto the desk. The backup phone beneath the drawer vibrated again. He heard it. His eyes moved downward. Maya kicked the drawer shut before he could reach it. The edge caught his fingers. Derrick shouted and pulled back. She grabbed the nearest object, an obsolete handheld scanner, and struck the emergency sprinkler pipe above the desk. The scanner shattered. The pipe did not. Derrick seized her hair and dragged her backward. "Try that again." Maya reached blindly across the desk. Her hand found the charging cable she had photographed earlier. The cut end still contained exposed copper. She jammed it against the metal side of an overloaded power strip. A blue flash burst beneath the desk. The basement lights went out. The terminal died. The elevator doors stopped halfway open. Derrick released her in surprise. Maya dropped to the floor and crawled beneath the desk. In the darkness, Edwin began shouting about the laptop. Derrick kicked boxes aside, searching for her by sound. The janitor grabbed Maya's wrist. "This way." He pulled her toward the narrow service aisle behind the shelving. Maya could barely see him, but he knew the basement better than any deputy. They squeezed between cabinets while Derrick's flashlight swept across the room. "Stop," Derrick shouted. "You are under arrest." Maya kept moving. The janitor pushed open a maintenance panel at the end of the aisle. Behind it, a concrete passage led toward the loading dock. Derrick's flashlight found them. "There!" He charged into the aisle. The janitor shoved Maya through the opening, then tried to pull the panel closed. Derrick hit it with his shoulder. The panel struck the janitor's face, throwing him backward. Maya turned. Derrick forced his way through and grabbed the back of the janitor's uniform. He drove the man into the concrete wall once, then again. "Leave him alone." Derrick looked toward Maya. "Come back, and I will." She knew he was lying. The storage drive cut into the bottom of her foot. Every step pressed its metal edge deeper into her skin. Maya seized a wheeled maintenance cart and pushed it down the narrow passage. Derrick released the janitor just as the cart struck him at the knees. He fell sideways, one hand catching the wall. Maya ran. The loading dock door was chained from the inside. She reached it, pulled the chain free, and found a second lock outside the push bar. Edwin's voice carried through the passage. "Do not let her reach the street." Derrick caught the back of Maya's cardigan again. She turned before he could pull her down and drove her elbow into his injured fingers. He loosened his grip. Maya shoved the push bar with both hands. The outside lock held. Derrick struck her across the shoulder and pinned her against the door. "You wanted to be brave." His forearm pressed beneath her chin. "Now you can be brave in a jail cell." The janitor appeared behind him holding a red fire extinguisher. He discharged it directly into Derrick's face. White powder filled the passage. Derrick recoiled, coughing and swinging blindly. The janitor hit the release lever on the loading dock gate. The outer lock had been attached to a chain around the frame, not the door itself. The gate lifted 6 inches. Maya dropped to the floor and rolled beneath it. Derrick caught her ankle. Her shoe came off in his hand. For one terrible second, Maya thought he would see the drive beneath the insole. Then the janitor discharged the extinguisher again. Derrick threw the shoe aside and covered his face. Maya crawled into the parking lot with one bare foot and kept running. She did not turn toward the courthouse entrance. Derrick would expect that. She crossed the loading lane, climbed a low concrete divider, and entered the public parking structure through the exit ramp. Her backup phone was still beneath the basement drawer. She had no car keys. Derrick had dumped them from her bag earlier, and she had left them on the desk. The storage drive remained in the shoe lying inside the loading dock. Maya stopped halfway up the ramp. The truth was no longer with her. Behind the gate, Derrick's coughing became quieter. He would look at the shoe. He would find the drive. Maya turned around. A county transport van descended the ramp toward her. She stepped behind a pillar and waited until it passed. Then she ran back toward the loading dock, keeping low behind parked vehicles. Derrick emerged first. His uniform was covered with white powder. He held Maya's shoe in one hand. Edwin followed with his laptop bag pressed against his chest. "Open it," Edwin said. Derrick tore out the insole. Nothing fell. He looked inside the shoe. Empty. Maya touched the cuff of her trousers. The drive was still there. She had felt metal beneath her foot because the drive had slipped out of the insole and lodged inside her sock. Derrick threw the shoe across the pavement. "Find her!" Maya backed away from the pillar. A hand closed over her mouth. She fought instantly, driving her heel backward. Andre Lawson caught her wrist before she could strike again. "It is me." Maya stopped. Andre lowered his hand. 2 state investigators stood behind him in plain clothes. One carried a medical kit. The other watched the loading dock. "How did you find me?" Maya whispered. The janitor triggered a building alarm before the power failed. "Your name was already on our witness list." "He has the server." "We have a warrant team coming." "They deleted it." "Did you copy anything?" Maya reached inside her sock. The drive was warm from her skin. Andre looked at it but did not touch it. "Keep your hand closed." Derrick's voice echoed through the parking structure. "Maya!" She flinched. Andre guided her behind an unmarked vehicle. The state investigator raised a camera and recorded the drive in Maya's palm before placing it into an evidence envelope. He sealed it, signed across the closure, and handed it to his partner. Derrick rounded the corner with Edwin several steps behind him. He stopped when he saw Andre. "Step away from my employee." Andre looked at Maya's torn cardigan, bruised cheek, and bare foot. "She is not leaving with you." "She stole restricted county records." "Then state your probable cause." "I do not answer to you." The first state investigator displayed his credentials. "You answer to me tonight." Derrick looked from the credential to the sealed evidence envelope. His face changed. Edwin took one slow step backward. The investigator noticed. "Mr. Marsh, remain where you are." "I am not detained." "No one said you were." Edwin stopped anyway. Derrick pointed at Maya. "She assaulted Administrator Langley and attacked me in the basement." Maya stared at him. "You hit me twice. Do you have video?" The cruelty of the question was deliberate. Andre's gaze hardened. "You should stop speaking." Derrick ignored him. "That woman entered a restricted system and stole protected files. I attempted to detain her. She damaged county property and fled." The janitor limped from the loading dock with blood beneath one nostril. "She did not flee," he said. "She escaped." Derrick turned. The janitor held up his phone. Its screen was cracked, but the recording timer was still moving. Derrick lunged. A state investigator stepped between them and caught Derrick's arm. "Do not touch him." Derrick tried to pull free. The investigator turned him toward the hood of a parked vehicle and pinned his wrist behind his back. For the first time since the hallway assault, Derrick found himself held in the exact position he had forced upon Imani, his face pressed against cold metal. "Release me. Stop resisting." "I am not resisting." Andre looked at Maya. She heard the echo too. The investigator did not handcuff Derrick. After several seconds, he released him and ordered everyone to remain separated until the warrant team arrived. Derrick straightened his uniform. "This is my county." "No," Maya said. "It is a public building." He looked at her with enough hatred to make the investigator step closer. Edwin sat on a concrete barrier and placed his laptop bag at his feet. Sweat had gathered along his hairline despite the cool night air. Andre remained beside Maya while a medic examined her cheek, shoulder, and abdomen. "Director Brooks does not know about this," he said quietly. Maya looked up. "Director?" Andre's expression did not change. "You did not hear that from me." "Brooks?" He turned toward the approaching warrant team. Maya watched him walk away. The words settled inside her with the weight of something too large to understand. At 9:12 p.m., state investigators entered the basement, the server room, Bradley's office, Heather's office, and the courthouse security station under court-authorized process. They did not seize the entire county network. They imaged specified systems, collected access logs, photographed damaged equipment, and secured Derrick's body camera. Edwin objected to every step. Caleb arrived before 10 p.m. and demanded to see the warrant. He read it twice, then called Bradley. The sheriff entered through the loading dock wearing a windbreaker over his dress shirt. He saw Maya seated in an ambulance and walked directly toward her. Andre intercepted him. "She is receiving medical care. She is a county employee accused of theft. She is a witness." "To what?" Andre looked toward the server room corridor. "You know." Bradley's face tightened. "I will not permit federal agents to intimidate my staff. The state is executing the warrant because your people created a crisis. Your deputy created it with his boot." Bradley lowered his voice. "You have no idea what happens to a county department when Washington decides it needs a villain." Andre stepped closer. "This stopped being about Washington when your employee struck a clerk in a basement." Bradley looked toward Derrick. The deputy stood beside a transport vehicle with his arms folded. "Did he admit that?" "There are witnesses. Witnesses change their stories." Andre's eyes moved back to Bradley. "Is that experience speaking?" Caleb arrived before the sheriff could answer. "Sheriff, say nothing further." Bradley turned away. Maya saw the exchange from the ambulance. Bradley had not asked whether she was injured. He had not asked why Derrick was at the courthouse after reassignment. He had asked what could be proved. A medic pressed an ice pack against her cheek. "Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" Maya looked at Derrick. "Not if he has access to my personnel file." Audrey arranged temporary witness protection measures through a conflict screen team. No dramatic convoy took Maya away. She left in the back seat of an unmarked state vehicle while Andre followed separately. By midnight, the copied video had been duplicated, hashed, and stored under independent custody. The first file showed Derrick's kick. The second showed Bradley viewing Imani's credential before defending Derrick. The third showed Edwin connecting an external device after the preservation demand. The fourth showed Bradley inside the server room while the deletion occurred. The footage had no sound. It did not reveal their words. It proved presence, sequence, and action. It did not prove the full agreement. Audrey watched every clip twice. "Do not call this a conspiracy yet," she told the investigators. "We know what they did. We do not know what each of them intended." An analyst opened the audit image recovered from Edwin's external device. "The administrator logs are incomplete. Deleted? Partially overwritten. Recoverable? Some entries." Audrey looked at the timestamps. "Start with everything after the preservation notice." Maya gave her statement at 1:30 a.m. She described Derrick's first threat, the kick, the blocked body camera, Heather's pressure, the basement assault, and Edwin's attempt to erase the mirror. She did not exaggerate what she had heard. When Audrey asked whether Bradley had ordered the deletion, Maya shook her head. I saw him in the room. I could not hear them. Did you see him touch the system? No. Did he know what Edwin was doing? I believe he did. Audrey leaned forward. Belief is not observation. Maya lowered her eyes. I saw him watch. That is observation. The distinction frustrated Maya, but she understood its purpose. Audrey was not weakening the case. She was separating what could survive from what merely felt true. At the end of the interview, Maya asked the question that had followed her from the parking structure. Who is Imani Brooks? Audrey closed her notebook. She is the victim in this matter. Agent Lawson called her director. The room became quiet. Andre, standing near the door, did not look at Audrey. Maya continued. Derrick kicked the director of something. Audrey's answer came carefully. Her official position is not relevant to whether the force was lawful. That was not my question. No, it was not. Audrey gathered the files. You will receive information when disclosure is authorized. Maya leaned back, exhausted. Bradley saw her credential. Audrey stopped. He saw enough to understand that she held federal authority, Maya said. Then he defended Derrick anyway. That matters. Does it? Yes. Maya touched the bruise on her cheek. It did not matter when he thought she was ordinary. Audrey looked at her for a long moment. That matters more. The next morning, Heather placed Maya on unpaid administrative leave for unauthorized access, insubordination, workplace violence, and removal of county property. The notice was delivered to Audrey's office by courier. Maya read it once. She attacked me. Audrey took the paper. Do not respond directly. They are saying I assaulted her. You will have a chance to answer. They already took my paycheck. I know. My mother's medication comes through my insurance. Audrey paused. Institutional justice moved through forms, hearings, and evidence schedules. Medical bills did not wait for any of them. A witness services coordinator entered the room and began arranging emergency assistance. It was useful, but it did not erase the humiliation of having to ask. Maya signed 3 forms while the people who struck her remained employed. At the hospital, Imani received no details about the basement. Her recusal held. Andre entered her room at 7:30 a.m. and placed a 1-page administrative document on the table. Temporary delegation is confirmed. She read the page without touching the secure phone beside it. Any threat to operations? No. Any reason I cannot leave medical observation? The physician wants another examination. That was not my question. Andre understood. No security reason. Imani studied him. You have not slept. I am fine. You use that answer when you are not. Andre remained silent. Is a witness in danger? I cannot brief you on the matter. The answer told her enough. She nodded once. Then do not. Nia entered carrying clean clothes. Andre left them alone. You could ask him, Nia said. I did. He refused. He respected the recusal. Nia placed the clothes on a chair. You look pleased about that. I am relieved. Someone may have been hurt. That is why the process cannot depend on whether I am angry. Nia sat beside the bed. I do not understand how you can separate it. Imani looked toward the bruises darkening along her wrist. I do not separate the pain. I separate the authority. At the courthouse, Derrick was placed on paid administrative leave, pending an internal review. He kept his service weapon. Bradley announced that the decision protected the integrity of the investigation. Heather repeated that Maya had committed a serious breach of courthouse security. Caleb filed an emergency motion seeking the return of copied surveillance material, arguing that the files contained sensitive information about judges, minors, and protected proceedings. Audrey opposed broad disclosure, but agreed that unrelated material should remain sealed. The court denied immediate return of the evidence. Caleb left the hearing angry enough to call Edwin from the courthouse steps. "Tell me exactly what was on the drive." "I do not know." "You built the system." "I maintained it." "Do not correct me today." Edwin sat alone in his kitchen, staring at the laptop investigators had allowed him to keep because it was not connected to the courthouse network. "They have the hallway assault," he said. "They may have the server room corridor." "May?" Maya copied more than one directory. Caleb lowered his voice. "Did Bradley tell you to delete anything?" Edwin did not answer. "Did he?" "He said he wanted a relevant export." "That is not a deletion order." "He knew the original contradicted Vaughn." "Knowing is not ordering." Edwin rubbed both hands over his face. "They will recover messages." "What messages?" Again silence. Caleb stopped walking. "What did you send?" "I asked whether the index should be cleaned." "To whom?" "Bradley." "What did he write back?" Edwin looked at the phone as if Caleb could see him. "He wrote, 'Protect the building.'" Caleb closed his eyes. "That phrase can mean anything." I replied, "Including the original?" "What did he say?" "He sent a check mark." Caleb stood motionless on the courthouse steps. "Delete nothing else." Edwin laughed once. That advice arrived late. Within 3 days, Audrey's team recovered the message exchange. It did not prove that Bradley ordered a crime beyond doubt. It did show that he had been asked a direct question about the original file and responded before Edwin altered the system. They also recovered a draft press statement created before the body camera export was completed. Heather's draft already described Imani as physically aggressive. The official account had not followed the evidence. It had preceded it. Audrey authorized interviews with every courthouse employee who had accessed the hallway after the assault. Several remembered Bradley saying the department could not survive another force complaint. One captain recalled Derrick asking whether the federal woman was important enough to cause trouble. Another remembered Bradley answering, "Important people cause quieter trouble." No witness heard Bradley order the destruction of a file. The case tightened without becoming simple. A week after the assault, Derrick drove to the apartment complex of the father who had witnessed the hallway detention. He parked across the street and remained in his vehicle for 40 minutes. The father noticed him through the blinds. Derrick did not knock. He did not speak. He only waited until the man's daughter came home from school. Then he drove away. The father called Audrey. By the time a state investigator reached the complex, Derrick's vehicle was gone. His lawyer said he had been visiting a relative nearby. There was no protective order prohibiting him from using a public road. Audrey documented the incident and sought stricter conditions through the state process. The request was still pending when Derrick appeared outside the delivery driver's workplace the following day. This time he spoke. "You remember me?" The driver backed toward the warehouse door. "You cannot be here." Derrick held both hands away from his body. "I am standing on a public sidewalk." "You put me in jail." "You put yourself there." The driver reached for his phone. Derrick stepped closer. "Be accurate when they interview you." "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means false statements have consequences." A warehouse camera captured the encounter without sound. Derrick left before officers arrived. Bradley called the visit a private conversation unrelated to county business. Audrey called it witness pressure. The judge ordered Derrick to have no contact with identified witnesses. He was not jailed. Maya saw the decision on a muted television in the temporary apartment where she had been placed. Her unpaid status had entered its second week. Her mother believed she was staying with a friend because of a plumbing problem. Maya had not told her about the assault. She did not want fear to become another bill her family had to pay. Andre arrived with a sealed envelope. "This is not an investigative briefing." "What is it?" "A notices that your security arrangement is changing. The direct threat level has been reduced." Derrick still has a weapon. He has been ordered not to contact you. Maya looked at him. That worked well for the other witnesses. Andre did not defend the order. She opened the envelope. A new emergency number and relocation instructions were inside. Is Ms. Brooks safe? Yes. Does she know what happened to me? No, because she is recused. Yes. Maya set the papers down. Does she know who I am? She knows there was a courthouse clerk. That is all? That is all she permitted herself to know. Maya stared at him. She could have used her position. She chose not to. To protect the case? To protect everyone the case is supposed to serve. Maya thought of Bradley looking into the credential wallet. He had seen power and adjusted his tone. He had not changed his actions. What is her position? Andre sat across from her. You will learn soon. Why not now? Because the people under investigation still do not understand the full conflict structure. We are not giving them information that changes their behavior before all essential interviews are complete. They know she is federal. They believe she is a protected legal advisor attached to a national security office. And Derrick still attacked witnesses. Yes. Maya looked down at the healing marks on her wrist. Then knowing more would not make him decent. No, Andre said. It would only make him careful. The state investigation completed its first round of interviews after 3 weeks. Audrey then scheduled a multi-agency evidence conference. Each participant received a different explanation. Derrick was told prosecutors needed clarification before deciding whether the courthouse assault could be closed as a policy matter. Bradley was told the meeting concerned federal access to county security systems. Edwin was told investigators needed a technical demonstration of the corruption. Heather believed she would be presenting proof that Maya had violated procedure. Caleb attended as county counsel. They entered a federal conference facility at separate times and surrendered their phones. Derrick wore a dark suit instead of his uniform. The missing badge made him look smaller, but his manner had not changed. He sat beside Bradley and tapped one finger against the table. This should have been over the first day. Bradley kept his voice low. It would have been if you had not gone into the basement. She stole evidence. You were on leave. She was lying. Bradley turned toward him. You keep confusing anger with proof. Across the table, Edwin arranged a folder of diagrams. His hands were steady until Audrey entered. She carried no visible files. Thank you for attending, Caleb leaned back. Attendance was not voluntary in every case. No one here is under arrest, Derrick smiled. Then let us finish. Audrey remained standing. We will begin with the hallway encounter. Deputy Vaughn, do you maintain that Ms. Brooks crossed a marked restrictions boundary? Yes. Audrey placed a photograph on the screen. It showed the corridor before the assault. No tape, no rope, no sign, no painted line. The marker had been moved for cleaning, Derrick said. Who moved it? I do not know. Was that included in your report? It was not relevant. Audrey changed the image. The mirrored video began. Derrick's boot struck Imani's knee. No one at the table spoke. The footage showed her hands, the handbag, the empty distance between her and the personnel door. Sid watched himself attack her. His fingers stopped tapping. The angle is misleading. Audrey paused the image at the moment his foot connected. Explain the lawful purpose of that movement. She shifted her weight toward me. She was facing away from you. She was preparing to turn. Did she raise either hand? She could have. That was not the question. Derrick looked at Caleb. Caleb did not intervene. Audrey resumed the footage. The black identification wallet slid across the floor. Derrick covered it with his boot. Bradley's jaw tightened. The next clip showed him arriving, taking the wallet and looking inside. Audrey paused again. What did you see? Bradley folded his hands. A federal credential. What agency? The display was brief. You opened it. I did not study it. Did it identify Ms. Brooks as an ordinary legal advisor? Bradley looked toward Caleb. Caleb spoke carefully. My client will not speculate about an item that is not before him. Audrey nodded. That is fair. Derrick turned toward the sheriff. You said you did not know her. Bradley did not answer. Audrey changed the screen to the server room corridor. Edwin entered after the preservation demand. Bradley followed. The administrator access log appeared beside the video. Edwin removed his glasses. There was a system fault. The file classification changed through your account, Audrey said. The audit export was deleted through your account. An external device connected through your credentials. My account was shared. With whom? Edwin glanced at Bradley. The sheriff stared straight ahead. Audrey displayed the recovered messages. Clean the index before they express it. The message came from Edwin. Protect the building. The response came from Bradley. Including the original? A checkmark followed. Caleb's expression did not move, but the color drained from his face. Bradley leaned forward. That exchange referred to protected courthouse footage involving minors. The hallway file did not include a minor, Audrey said. The server held thousands of files. Then why did Mr. Marsh reclassify Deputy Vaughn's body camera recording as accidental activation? No one answered. Heather opened her folder. This meeting is ignoring the misconduct of Maya Sutton. She accessed systems beyond her authority and physically attacked me. Audrey looked at her. You prepared a witness statement before interviewing her. I prepared a template. The template stated that Ms. Brooks moved aggressively. That was the information provided to me. By whom? Heather glanced at Derrick. He sat back. I do not remember. Audrey placed a still image on the screen. Heather had Maya by the hair in the basement. The janitor's phone recording had captured the final seconds through the open door. Heather closed her folder. She became violent. The recording shows you striking her. She blocked access to county property. You suspended her health insurance after learning she had spoken with investigators. That was an administrative consequence. For cooperation? For theft. Audrey turned off the screen. The room fell quiet. Derrick looked around the table. You have a weak battery claim and a clerk who broke into a system. Why are we in a federal facility? A door opened behind Audrey. Andre entered first. Two senior officials followed, then Imani. She wore a dark blue suit. The bruising along her wrist had faded to yellow, but the injury to her knee still affected her stride. Derrick stared. Bradley stood halfway, uncertain whether courtesy or fear had moved him. Andre faced Imani. Director Brooks, the conflict team is ready for your statement. No one moved. Derrick's eyes shifted from Andre to Imani, then to the officials behind her. Director of what? Imani placed her credential wallet on the table. The gold seal faced upward this time. The words beneath it were clear. Director, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Heather's folder slipped from her lap. Edwin lowered his head. Caleb stopped breathing for one measured second. Bradley looked at the credential he had already seen in the hallway. He had not misunderstood it. He had simply convinced himself that the title could not be what it appeared to be. Derrick's face turned pale. You are the FBI director? Imani did not look at him first. She looked at Audrey. My recusal remains in effect? Yes. All investigative and charging decisions remain outside my control? Yes. Has any employee been directed to consider my title as evidence? No. Imani nodded. Then she faced Derrick. You kicked a woman standing beside a public bench. His mouth opened. She continued before he could speak. My office does not make that act more unlawful. My title does not make the bruises more important. It only prevented your report from disappearing as easily as the others. Derrick looked toward Bradley. The sheriff did not meet his eyes. I did not know, Derrick said. Imani's expression did not change. That is the clearest thing you have said. I did not know who you were. I know. The words landed harder then accusation. Derrick pushed his chair back. You let me believe you were nobody. Andre stepped closer, but Imani lifted one hand. She did not let you believe anything, Audrey said. You decided. Derrick looked around the room as if searching for someone who still considered him powerful. I followed my training. Imani glanced at the paused image of his boot striking her knee. Then your training will become evidence too. Bradley finally spoke. Director Brooks, this department has served Pinebrook for generations. One deputy's mistake should not become a federal takeover. Imani turned toward him. You watched the complete footage. It was unclear. You read my credential. I saw a federal identification card. You told me the matter could be resolved quietly. I was trying to reduce conflict. Then you stood in the server room while evidence disappeared. Bradley's voice hardened. I did not order a deletion. That is for investigators to determine. You are the investigator. No, I am the victim. She closed the credential wallet. That distinction is why I am leaving before any of you answer another question. Derrick stood. So that is it? You walk in, show the title, and everyone treats us like criminals. Imani stopped beside the door. No one in this room became accountable when I entered. You became accountable when you chose what to do after the kick. She walked out. Andre followed. The senior officials remained only long enough to confirm the conflict arrangement. Then Audrey resumed the meeting. No one spoke with the same confidence again. Derrick requested counsel and refused further questions. Bradley followed Caleb's advice and ended the interview. Heather attempted to leave before being reminded that investigators had a separate state subpoena for employment records. Edwin stayed seated. When the others were gone, he asked Audrey for water. She placed a bottle in front of him. I want a lawyer who does not represent the county. That is your right. I also want to correct something. After counsel arrives, Edwin stared at the sealed bottle. Bradley did not use the word delete. Audrey said nothing. He never uses words that can be repeated. Wait for counsel. Edwin looked toward the door through which the sheriff had left. He told me the department could survive a technical failure. It could not survive a video. Audrey closed her notebook. That statement will be taken properly. 2 days later, Edwin returned with independent counsel. He admitted altering the body camera classification, deleting audit exports, and using an external tool to interfere with recovery. He provided investigators with encrypted backups of his messages and identified 3 earlier cases in which Derrick's courthouse footage had been shortened after complaints. Edwin did not present himself as a hero. He said he had protected the department for years because Bradley controlled promotions, overtime, and disciplinary assignments. He also admitted receiving additional pay through a technology services contract approved by the sheriff. His cooperation agreement did not erase his exposure. It required full disclosure and left sentencing decisions to the court. When Derrick learned Edwin was cooperating, he called Bradley from his lawyer's office. He is blaming us. Bradley stood at the window of his home study. He is saving himself. He cannot save himself without giving them someone larger. Do not contact him. You told him to clean the file. Bradley's hand tightened around the phone. Do not repeat that sentence. It is in the messages. The message says protect the building. We both know what it meant. Bradley lowered his voice. You know what you did in that hallway. Do not place your actions on me. Derrick stood. You defended me. I defended the department before I saw the full circumstances. You saw the video. Bradley ended the call. Derrick stared at the dark screen. The alliance that had protected him for years was over. He began preparing his own account. Through counsel, Derrick claimed Bradley had encouraged deputies to make examples of courthouse visitors who questioned security orders. He produced text messages praising aggressive enforcement and directing deputies to restore respect after public complaints. None of the messages ordered unlawful force. They showed culture, not necessarily crime. The federal grand jury received evidence in stages. Audrey presented the hallway video, medical records, witness statements, body camera metadata, server logs, and Derrick's false report. She did not call Imani during the first presentation. Her title was included only where necessary to explain the security response and conflict procedures. State prosecutors separately reviewed battery, false imprisonment, and false statement charges. The county disciplinary process moved more slowly. Heather remained on paid leave for 6 weeks before resigning, citing a hostile political environment. Her resignation did not end the witness intimidation inquiry. Caleb denied directing anyone to destroy evidence. Investigators found no message ordering deletion, but they documented his attempts to characterize employee cooperation as a policy violation. A professional conduct complaint was submitted. It remained pending. Bradley refused calls to resign. At a public county meeting, he described the investigation as punishment for resisting federal intrusion. Several supporters applauded. Then Maya entered the room. Her cheek had healed. Her wrist still carried a faint mark where Heather had gripped her. She sat in the front row beside the janitor, whose name was Oliver Price. Bradley saw them before approaching the microphone. His prepared statement slowed. Maya did not interrupt. She did not hold a sign. She only watched. When public comment opened, Oliver spoke first. "I cleaned that courthouse for 14 years. I saw people come out of the basement bruised and quiet. I told myself I did not know enough to interfere." Bradley shifted in his chair. Oliver continued. "The night Ms. Sutton found the video, I knew enough." He sat down. Maya approached the microphone. "My employment appeal is pending, so I will not discuss evidence. I will say one thing. The cameras did not fail every time a deputy was accused. People failed every time the camera showed something inconvenient." No one applauded at first. Then a woman near the rear stood. Her son had accepted an obstruction plea after an encounter with Derrick. Another man stood beside her. Then the delivery driver. Then the father from the elevator. More people rose without speaking. Bradley looked across a room full of witnesses his department had once treated as isolated problems. They were no longer isolated. The county placed him on temporary administrative leave 3 days later, not because guilt had been determined, but because he could no longer supervise employees cooperating with the investigation. A captain with no connection to courthouse security became acting sheriff. The first action taken under the temporary administration was to preserve every unresolved force complaint in an outside repository. The second was to restore Maya's employment status while her disciplinary appeal continued. She returned to the courthouse through the public entrance. Several employees avoided her. One quietly touched her arm and thanked her. Maya did not feel victorious. Her desk had been emptied. Heather's written reprimand remained in her personnel file. Her mother had learned about the assault from a news report and had not slept through the night since. Restoration did not reverse what happened. It only stopped the institution from continuing one part of the harm. Imani returned to Washington under medical clearance. She resumed official duties without discussing the case. When reporters asked whether her position had influenced the investigation, she repeated that charging decisions belonged to independent prosecutors. A senior official suggested she make a public statement about attacks on law enforcement legitimacy. She declined. "This is not a story about a powerful official surviving misconduct," she said. "It is about what happened before anyone knew she was powerful." She did agree to one internal review, not of Pine Brook's evidence, of her own protective arrangements. Andre entered her office expecting criticism for allowing the hallway separation. Imani closed the review file. "You were 20 seconds away. That was too long. The plan was built around privacy for my sister. It created exposure. It also exposed a system." Andre did not accept the comfort. "I should have identified you immediately." "Would Derrick have stopped?" "Yes." "Then what would we know about Maya?" Andre looked at her. "What would we know about the previous complaints?" Imani continued. "What would we know about the files marked unavailable?" You were injured. I am not thanking him for that. She pushed the review file toward him. I am saying our response cannot be designed only to prevent powerful people from experiencing what ordinary people face. Andre sat down. The director's safety is not symbolic. No, but neither is everyone else's. The review concluded that the protective detail had followed the approved low-visibility plan, but needed clearer authority to intervene when local officers initiated unsupported detention. No one was dismissed. Procedures changed. 4 months after the assault, a state grand jury indicted Derrick on charges arising from the kick, detention, false report, and basement attack on Maya. He surrendered through counsel. There was no line of agents waiting outside his home, no dramatic raid, no cameras inside the booking room. He was photographed, fingerprinted, processed, and released on bond under strict no-contact conditions. The release angered several victims. Audrey explained privately that an indictment was not a conviction and pretrial detention was not punishment. Maya understood the words. She still checked every vehicle outside her apartment. The federal grand jury continued meeting. 6 months after the assault, Derrick was indicted on federal civil rights and evidence-related counts. Edwin was charged separately and entered a guilty plea under his cooperation agreement. Bradley was not included in the first indictment. News reports called that a victory for him. His attorney announced that the evidence had failed to support the accusations. Audrey said nothing publicly. Behind closed doors, investigators were still reviewing old cases, contract payments, deleted complaints, and communications extending back nearly a decade. A criminal case did not become stronger because the public wanted a faster answer. Maya testified before the federal grand jury twice. The second appearance focused on older records. She described a sealed storage box she had seen during basement indexing. It contained paper complaints that never appeared in the digital tracking system. Investigators obtained authority to retrieve it. The box was gone. The inventory sheet showed that Heather had transferred it to off-site storage 3 days after the hallway assault. Heather denied remembering the transfer. The courier log listed a warehouse controlled by a records company owned by Bradley's brother-in-law. The warehouse manager produced a destruction certificate. The complaints had allegedly reached the end of their retention period. The certificate was dated 2 days before the transfer. The timeline was impossible. That discovery did not immediately produce another charge. It produced subpoenas, interviews, financial reviews, and a new line of inquiry into whether complaint files had been systematically removed. The story expanded again. Derrick's lawyers sought to exclude the mirrored video, arguing that Maya lacked authority to access the system and that the copy could not be trusted. A forensic examiner testified that the files matched internal camera identifiers, time synchronization records, and surviving fragments from the county server. The jail ruled that the government could use the footage. Derrick then sought to move the trial, arguing that publicity surrounding Imani's office made a fair jury impossible. The court ordered expanded jury screening rather than moving the case immediately. Every delay frustrated Maya. Every delay also forced the evidence to survive another challenge. 9 months after the assault, Edwin appeared in court for sentencing. He admitted that he had treated truth as a technical setting he could switch off. The judge considered his cooperation, his repeated conduct, and the damage caused to people whose cases had depended on missing recordings. He received a reduced sentence, but not freedom. Bradley watched from the back row. When Edwin was taken through the side door, he did not look at the sheriff. Heather's professional future collapsed more quietly. She could no longer obtain comparable courthouse employment while the investigation remained open. She appealed the county's finding that she retaliated against Maya. The appeal had not been decided. Caleb continued practicing under scrutiny. His bar matter entered an investigative stage expected to last well beyond the criminal trial. None of them vanished from the world simply because the truth had emerged. Accountability arrived unevenly. Some lost authority before liberty. Some lost reputation before income. Some remained untouched while investigators searched for the evidence needed to reach them. Derrick's federal trial began 13 months after the hallway assault. Imani entered through the same public courthouse doors used by other witnesses. She did not arrive in a motorcade. Her protective detail kept a wider perimeter, but no one announced her entrance. Inside the courtroom, Derrick sat beside his lawyers in a plain suit. He looked at her once. The confidence from the hallway was gone. Something harder had replaced it. Resentment. Audrey called Imani by name. She took the oath and sat. "What were you doing in Pinebrook County that morning?" "Supporting my sister during a private family proceeding." "Did you attempt to enter the personnel corridor?" "No." "Did you threaten Deputy Vaughn?" "No." "Did you strike him?" "No." "Describe what happened after he approached." Imani did not perform the story. She recounted it carefully. The command, the kick, the wall, the cuffs, the hidden camera, the false narration. Derrick's lawyer approached for cross-examination. "You are trained to remain calm under pressure." "Yes." "You are trained in law enforcement encounters." "Yes." "You understood that sudden movement can be perceived as a threat." "Yes." "You reached toward an identification wallet on the floor." "After Deputy Vaughn kicked me." "But you moved your hand." "I attempted to retrieve property he had knocked from my bag." "You did not immediately disclose your title." "No." "Why not?" "Because lawful treatment should not depend on it." The lawyer paced once before the jury. "Your title would have changed the deputy's understanding of the security risk." "My title did not change where I was standing." "It would have explained the federal agent approaching the corridor." Deputy Vaughn reached toward his weapon before asking for an explanation. The lawyer changed direction. "You were angry." "I was injured." "That was not my question." "Yes, I was angry." "Did anger affect your memory?" "No." "How can you be certain?" "Because the event was recorded." Several jurors looked toward the evidence screen. The lawyer returned to his table. Maya testified the following day. Derrick's defense attacked her unauthorized system access, workplace dispute, and physical struggle with Heather. "You were facing termination before you copied the footage." "I was threatened with termination because I would not sign a false statement." "You stole county data." "I preserved evidence after the administrator tried to erase it." "You struck Ms. Langley." "I pushed a chair between us after she grabbed me." "You damaged equipment." "I caused a power failure while Deputy Vaughn was assaulting me." The lawyer held up a photograph of the broken scanner. "That looks deliberate." It was. "Thank you." Maya leaned toward the microphone. "Breaking a scanner stopped him from breaking me." The judge instructed the jury to disregard the non-responsive portion. But the jurors had heard it. Oliver testified about the basement. The father testified about Derrick's presence outside his apartment. The delivery driver described the warning outside his workplace. Edwin entered in custody and explained how the recordings had been manipulated. Derrick's lawyer accused him of inventing a story to reduce his sentence. Edwin admitted he hoped cooperation would help him. Then he explained details only the system administrator could know, including the altered classification, deleted logs, external overwrite process, and message exchange with Bradley. The defense called Derrick. It was a calculated risk. He told the jury that courthouse threats were unpredictable. He said Imani ignored instructions and moved toward a restricted door. He described the kick as a trained balance disruption technique. Audrey approached for cross-examination. "Where was the restricted marker?" "Temporarily displaced." "Who displaced it?" "I do not know." "When did you first mention the missing marker?" "I do not remember." "Was it in your report?" "No." "Was it in your first interview?" "No." "Your second?" "No." Derrick shifted. "I was focused on the assault." "The assault you claim Ms. Brooks committed?" "Yes." Audrey displayed the video. "Show the jury where she struck you." The clip played. Imani stood still. Derrick approached. His boot moved. Imani fell. Derrick stared at the screen. She turned. "Show us." The clip played again. No turn. "Where did she raise her arm?" "She moved after the contact." "After you kicked her?" "After I redirected her." Audrey stepped closer to the witness stand. "Why did you cover your body camera?" "I did not." A photograph showed the mount angled beneath his vest panel. "Why did the camera record the floor before the encounter?" "Equipment shifts." "Why did it return to position after Agent Lawson arrived?" Derrick looked toward the jury. "I adjusted my vest." "So you knew its position?" "I knew it had shifted." "Before or after you kicked Ms. Brooks?" His lawyer objected. The judge allowed the question. Derrick's answer came slowly. "After." Audrey displayed the metadata. The camera mount position had changed during a manual activation 3 minutes before Derrick entered the hallway. He had tested it. He had seen the obstructed view. The jury watched the short pre-event clip showing his hand covering the lens and pressing the activation control. Derrick's face tightened. Audrey did not raise her voice. "You did not lose the truth because a camera failed. You prepared for the camera to fail before you reached her." The defense objected again. The judge instructed the jury that lawyers' statements were not evidence. The evidence remained on the screen. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Derrick was found guilty on the principal civil rights count and the evidence-related count tied to his report and later conduct. He was acquitted on one narrower charge involving an alleged agreement the government could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt. The mixed verdict mattered. It showed that the jury had not punished him for being disliked. They had separated what was proven from what was not. Derrick stood motionless as the verdict was read. Imani did not celebrate. Maya closed her eyes. Oliver placed one hand over hers. Sentencing was scheduled for a later date. Derrick was remanded after the court found that his witness contact conduct created a continued risk. The sheriff's department issued a statement acknowledging the verdict and promising reform. Bradley's name did not appear. 17 months after the assault, state charges against Derrick were resolved through a plea agreement accounting for the federal conviction. The state court imposed a sentence structured partly alongside the federal punishment and ordered restitution for Maya's medical expenses. Money did not restore her lost sleep. The order still mattered. Bradley lost re-election before the federal review of his conduct concluded. He blamed outside interference and hostile media. He left office without a farewell ceremony. Months later, a federal grand jury returned a limited indictment accusing him of evidence-related obstruction and false statements. It did not accuse him of ordering Derrick's kick. It did not charge him for every past complaint. The evidence did not support every suspicion. Bradley surrendered and was released pending trial. His case remained unresolved when Maya's employment appeal finally ended. The county removed Heather's reprimands from Maya's file, restored lost pay, and offered her a supervisory position in records compliance. She accepted only after the county agreed that surveillance preservation would no longer remain under the sheriff's exclusive control. A civilian evidence manager and automatic outside backup were added. No single employee could delete original footage. Every access created a record stored outside county systems. The changes were technical. For the people who had once been told no video existed, they were also moral. Maya spent her first week reviewing archived obstruction cases. 19 quick pleas connected to Derrick received new scrutiny. Several defendants had already completed their sentences. Relief could not return the nights they spent in jail or the jobs they lost. Still, defense attorneys filed motions. 3 convictions were vacated within the year. 2 more remained under review. Others could not be reopened because evidence and witnesses were gone. Justice did not repair every life it had failed. It stopped pretending there had been no failure. One evening, Maya entered the restored basement with Oliver. The damaged desk had been replaced. The emergency line worked. Every camera displayed a live status indicator on an independent panel. Oliver pointed toward a row of newly cataloged boxes. These came from the off-site warehouse. Investigators had recovered material the destruction certificate claimed no longer existed. Some boxes contained tax records and old maintenance files. One carried no label. Maya cut the seal. Inside were complaint forms arranged by year. She opened the first. A woman had accused Derrick of twisting her arm after she asked why her son was being detained. The disposition line was blank. Across the top, someone had written 3 words: "No video available." Maya opened another. A man described being punched near the elevator after refusing to unlock his phone. No video available. A third complaint came from a court interpreter who had seen Derrick shove an elderly visitor. No video available. The handwriting was the same. Oliver looked at the number of files. How many? Maya counted the folders without removing them. More than 30. Her phone vibrated. It was a message from Audrey, confirming that the box would be collected under the continuing investigation. Maya photographed the seal and stepped away. She did not carry the files out herself this time. She no longer had to run through a dark basement with the truth hidden in her shoe. Outside, evening light crossed the courthouse steps where Bradley had once defended Derrick before reviewing the evidence. Imani stood near the public entrance. She had returned for Nia's rescheduled family hearing, this time after the criminal trial had ended and the conflict restrictions had eased. Maya stopped several feet away. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Imani looked toward the basement door. "I was told a clerk preserved the recording. I was told the victim refused to use her position." Imani gave a slight nod. "They told you who I was." Eventually, Maya glanced at the security camera above them. "Bradley knew before the press conference." "Yes. He saw your credential and still chose Derrick. He chose the version that protected him." Maya looked at the courthouse doors. "I kept thinking the reveal would be the moment everything changed." "It changed their behavior, not their character." "No." Maya studied Imani's face. "Were you ever tempted to tell him?" "Yes." "What stopped you?" Imani looked across the plaza where people entered carrying court notices, medical folders, and documents that could change their families' lives. "I knew what the title would do. I wanted to know what the law did without it. And it moved too slowly. It asked too much from people who had already been hurt. It protected procedure even when procedure had protected the wrong person." Maya waited. "But it moved," Imani continued, "because you carried evidence when everyone around you demanded silence. I was terrified. Courage does not require comfort." Nia appeared in the doorway. "The hearing is about to begin." Imani turned, then paused. "Your mother's insurance?" "Restored." "Your appeal?" "Closed." "And you?" Maya considered the question. "I still check whether cameras are working." "So do I." They entered the courthouse together. No deputy ordered either woman to kneel. No administrator blocked their path. The hallway had not become safe because one corrupt officer was convicted or one sheriff lost power. It had become harder to control because every camera now answered to more than one person. Every complaint created an outside copy, and every employee knew Maya's story. Near the personnel door, a new sign stated that public visitors could not be detained solely for requesting an officer's name, badge number, or supervisor. Beneath it sat the same bench where Imani had waited for Nia. Maya touched the back of the bench as she passed. Derrick had believed the kick would establish control. Instead, it connected a hidden archive of victims, a frightened clerk, an injured janitor, independent investigators, and a woman who understood that authority was most dangerous when no one expected it to be questioned. His first mistake was not failing to recognize the director of the FBI. His first mistake was believing an ordinary woman would have deserved less protection. And the institution's deepest failure was not that it mistook Imani for someone powerless. It was that it had built an entire system around what powerful people believed they could do to anyone they considered powerless. Derrick Vaughn lost his badge, was convicted on federal civil rights and evidence-related charges, and was taken into custody after the court found he remained a threat to witnesses. Sheriff Bradley Whitaker lost re-election and later faced a federal indictment of his own. The officials who protected the lie were exposed one by one. But Imani Brooks should never have needed to be the director of the FBI to be treated like a human being. She should not have needed a federal credential, a protected witness, a hidden camera, or a clerk brave enough to carry the truth out of a dark basement. The law was supposed to protect her before anyone knew her title. So what about the people who do not have that title, badge, camera, or power? How many were told there was no video? How many were punished because one uniform voice sounded more believable than theirs? Put yourself in that hallway. Would you have spoken up, recorded what happened, or looked away to protect your own safety? Share your answer in the comments. Like this video, share it with someone who believes accountability matters, subscribe, and hit the bell. Every story on this channel is about one thing: the moment truth finally catches up. And it always does.